So with this session, we have a representative from Health Equity, which was formerly WageWorks, Ms. Lisa Mitchell, and she will present using a PowerPoint. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. I'm going to ask that everyone stay on mute during the presentation. And if you have questions, please post them in the chat, and we will address those questions at the end of the presentation. There is a lot of good information in this presentation. So certainly we encourage you to save your questions if you can till the end, and we will do our best to answer all those questions. As I said before, this session is being recorded, and we also have this same session scheduled for this evening at 5, and whichever recording happens to be the most detailed, we will post that on our open enrollment webpage probably sometime tomorrow. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Ms. Lisa Mitchell from Health Equity, and I will go ahead and share my screen, and we will get started here with the presentation. Does everyone see that?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, Lisa, whenever you're ready.
All right, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Lisa Mitchell. I am the Service Delivery Manager here at Health Equity for PGCPS. And today I am going to talk about your FSA benefits. Basically, I'll be going over the healthcare FSA first, and then I'll be switching over to the dependent care FSA. And then, of course, at the end, I'll take any questions that you all have. All right, so James, if you want to go to the next slide. All right, so for the healthcare FSA, one of the best benefits of this is that everything that you have elected is pre-tax. So you could save up to $800 or more, depending on how much you have elected and for the plan year. So, you know, you could save, again, up to $800 or more because this is pre-taxed. So, James, you can go to the next slide. All right. So a lot of people ask me, you know, why should I choose an FSA? What are the benefits? You know, why do I want this money to be coming out of my paycheck? And so the first one is you really do have significant tax savings. So everything is tax deductible. You could potentially save up to 30% or more on your qualified medical expenses. And I'll go over what is qualified versus non-qualified in a few slides. And the second one is you get your money right away. So for healthcare FSA, the maximum that you can elect each year is $2,750. And the best thing is you get that money right away. So on January 1st, the first day of the plan year, your card will be loaded with exactly how much you have elected for. So there are some other benefits, you know, like HSA, where, you know, you have to accumulate those funds during the year. But with an FSA on day one, those funds are loaded to your card so that, you know, if you have any type of surgery planned, or if you have, let's say, a, you know, prescription that is a little bit pricier that you need to, you know, pick up on, say, January the 10th, that money is already available to you. So, and you of course have the entire plan year to spend those funds. So you can spend $20 in February, and then the rest of it maybe in November or December. The only thing you want to make sure of is that you use those funds because they're there and they're available to you. So, and then of course, number 3 is that it's very simple. If you elect the max of $27.50, those funds are going to be taken from your payroll. So, and of course, it's all pre-tax. So, which is the wonderful part. So during the year, based on your paycheck, if you're, weekly, monthly, biweekly, those funds would be taken out of your paycheck. So you don't have to worry about, making your payments. They're going to come directly out of your paycheck. All right. And then number 4, you can spend beyond the doctor. A lot of people ask me, well, what if I don't go to the doctor during the year? I'm completely healthy. I don't plan to have surgery or anything like that. I'm completely healthy. Well, there are thousands of eligible medical expenses that the IRS deems, eligible. This is all based on, of course, what the IRS finds as eligible. All right. So you can get over-the-counter medication. Say you need some Tylenol. Say, you need to, have, your back hurts and you want to go get one of the Thermacare patches. That is all covered. So you can get, let's say you have monthly medication that you need to pick up from the pharmacy. That's covered. Just present your FSA card. And of course, now the IRS has actually added a few more things that are covered, and I'll go over those in the next couple of slides. So James, if you want to advance to the next slide. All right. So the best thing, of course, about the FSA is it is pre-tax. So the more you contribute, the more you are going to save. So the max contribution limit right now is $2,750. So your potential tax savings can be up to $825. And I know normally for myself and my family, I normally do the max because no matter what I plan for, sometime during the year, I'm going to have some kind of unexpected expense. And it's so nice to know that, instead of having to, get with my husband and determine, oh my goodness, where are we going to pull those funds from? I have that FSA there and waiting to be used. So James, if you want to go to the next slide. All right. So most often asked questions, what expenses are eligible? What can I use my FSA funds for? So you can use it from anything to orthodontia. You can use it for LASIK surgery. Just added recently was personal protective equipment. And what this means is your masks. That is the biggest thing. We have all been spending a lot of money on these masks. So, and it's, whether it's, your professional mask, say you have to go into the hospital and, they require a certain type of mask, of course, that's covered. If you want the face shield, that's covered. If you just want your standard everyday, mask, the disposable masks that are used, those are covered as well. So that was a recent add, of course. And then over-the-counter medication. So Tylenol, Claritin, any of that type medication that is deemed, eligible, you can use your funds for. So, and, just some of the other things that, you may not think about is, let's say you have to have surgery. We all hope we don't have to have surgery, but, if you have a deductible, you can use these funds towards your deductible. If you need glasses, if you want to get prescription sunglasses, it's just a really wonderful way to, kind of have that waiting in the background should you need it. All right, and James, if you want to advance to the next slide. All right. So again, these are all eligible expenses. And the best thing about it, of course, we have the entire list on our website, for you to view at any time. And as the IRS changes these, especially with the the personal, we call it PPE, personal protective equipment, that is all added. We have about a 24-hour turnaround. If anything is added, we do put those on there. So, and also wanted to go over, this is also within about the past year, year and a half, is menstrual products. So if you need any type of anything for any kind of menstrual period, I won't go into it. The ladies out there know those are now eligible expenses. All right, so we can go to the next slide. All right, so again, just eligible expenses, just to kind of broaden the spectrum for you, is medical care. Okay, so you go to the doctor, you have a copay, that's covered. Hospital services, any type of prescription from your doctor, your vision exam, if you need prescription glasses or contacts, if you want to have LASIK surgery, of course, that is voluntary, still covered. All right, say your dental coverage, your cleanings, your any type of reconstruction. So if you need to have any type of implants and orthodontia. And I will tell you, as a mother of 2 teenagers, orthodontia is currently something that I am using because both of my teenage girls have braces. So what I have done is our orthodontist actually, bills us a certain amount of money each month. And so I was able to put my FSA card on file with the orthodontist, and they just bill me $100 for both girls every month. And that is so nice to me because I don't need to, remember to pay the orthodontist. It's just automatically coming out of the FSA. Because what you can do is your orthodontist can send in your treatment plan. And, on that treatment plan, they can say, okay, Mrs. Mitchell is going to pay $100 per month. And, our service department will, of course, approve that. And there you go. All right. And then, of course, your personal health, your over-the-counter pain reliever, your feminine care products, the PPE, your masks and such, and then alternative care. So if you want to go to the chiropractor, if you want to have acupuncture, if you need to have some type of therapeutic massage, and of course, with the massage, it has to be medically necessary. All we require is, just a short and sweet letter from your provider stating, okay, this is medically necessary. All right. And so you can, if you want to see a complete list of the FSA medical expenses, we actually do have a website. You can see it at the bottom of the screen, and it's just learn.healthequity.com/QME, which is qualified medical expenses. All right, and we can advance to the next slide. All right, now this is also probably the second most asked question, is what is needed for reimbursement? There are several ways that you can basically use your FSA. We, of course, have the all-important FSA card that you would present. It's run exactly like a credit card. There is no PIN involved. You just run it as credit. All right. And then you also have the option to pay my provider. Let's say you have a provider and for whatever reason, they don't accept credit cards. All right. So if you happen to have to pay out of pocket, you can actually submit your claim to us and we can pay you back for any expenses that you have incurred out of pocket. The third one is pay my provider. So let's say your provider, your doctor does not accept credit cards. They, and they didn't want you to pay out of pocket. However, they still need to be paid. A lot of times what happens is, say you have a large expense and they bill you. Let's say through the mail, you get a bill. And instead of paying out of pocket first, you can actually go on, let's say they have a website for you to pay. You can go onto that website, pay your bill with your FSA card. Because it is a credit card, it'll go immediately through and those funds will be paid out to your provider within 7 to 10 business days. I have personally used this option. Sometimes you have, let's say you go to the doctor and, they send it to the insurance and the insurance pays a portion. And let's say you owe your copay. Well, I don't want to pay out of pocket and then have to submit for reimbursement because that can be inconvenient. Well, what I do is I just ask them to pay my provider, and it's very convenient. A lot of people are like, well, how can I be sure that my doctor gets that check? What you can do is you can, of course, go online, make sure your claim is approved, and you can see the status of any type of check that we have made out to your provider or also to you. And especially for the pay me back option is you can actually set up your bank account. So if you have a personal checking account and you have had to pay out of pocket, let's say $500, what'll happen is once your claim is approved, that those funds will be removed from your FSA card and deposited into your bank account. All right. So, and of course, it's like, why would I do that? Why can't I just pay, not have those funds taken out of my paycheck? Why can't I just, pay for the expenses as they come? But again, these are pre-tax benefits. So there's a lot of savings that, that can go on here. All right. And James, if you want to go to the next slide. All right, so we have, a lot of times these presentations are kind of dry and you want to know, well, okay, let me give, I want some examples, like real life examples. Well, I've given you some of mine, but, since, there are, of course, a lot of different scenarios, we wanted to introduce you to Dion. All right, so he has an FSA plan and he has elected the contribution limit of $2,750. All right, so what he's doing is, you kind of budget how much you think you're going to have to use. And he is hoping, to be able to get some, prescription sunglasses. All right, so he contributes $2,000. All right, so right there, his annual tax savings are $600. All right, so if you want to go to the next slide, James. All right, so these are some of his FSA savings. All right, so at the end of the year, he has accumulated or he has spent the $1,350, at the end of the year. All right, so, he's kind of curious, okay, do I have enough left for, say, sunglasses? All right, so without an FSA, all right, he of course, has that $2,000 from his paycheck. He loses $600 to taxes that come out of his paycheck. All right, and then he's also out of pocket, $1,350 in his medical expenses. So he has $50 left over. All right, with an FSA, he has $2,000 on his FSA card or in his what we call your FSA account. All right, you have not paid anything to taxes. So that $2,000 is yours. All right, now let's say he spent his $1,350 in medical expenses. All right, on his FSA card, he has $650 left over for his prescription sunglasses. All right, and of course, I've never seen sunglasses that are $650, but let's say your sunglasses are $300. All right, you still have $350 left over for, let's say you want to put that towards LASIK surgery, so you eventually don't need those sunglasses. There's just so many ways to spend, with your FSA account. All right, if you want to advance to the next slide. All right, so at this point, you're asking yourself, what's going to be the best for me? All right, is it going to be having those funds available at the start of the plan year? Is it going to be your tax savings? All right, is it going to be the number of products that are FSA eligible? Or if it's going to be that you have money on hand for those medical emergencies when you need it. All right, say in the middle of the night, you find that you need to go to the hospital. All right, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, where am I going to get the funds for the hospital copay or the deductible? You can know that, okay, I have this much money in my FSA account that I can put towards this particular visit. All right, and we can advance to the next slide. All right, so you can really give yourself that flexibility and also some pretty good tax savings. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so it's really easy to get started with your account. You can sign up, of course, during your open enrollment. You're going to choose your election amount for the year. All right, and normally if you elect, $2,000 at the start of the year, that's how much you have for the rest of the year. Typically, you cannot change it. There are times where you can, but normally you keep what you elect at the first of the year. All right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to contribute. It's all behind the scenes. It's going to be pre-tax through your payroll, and then the amount will be withheld from each paycheck. All right, it's typically equal. So let's say you're paid monthly, and you'll have your election amount divided by 12, and that is the amount that will be taken out of your monthly paycheck. All right, and then the third thing you have to do is use your funds. So you can use our Health Equity Visa card. You can submit for reimbursement if, let's say, for example, you have to be out of pocket, or if you want to pay your provider. All right, and the one thing you want to remember is save your receipts. Okay, this is not for us. This is not for Health Equity. This is for the IRS. Let's say the IRS were to ever come in to you personally and want to see, what did you use your FSA card for? Rare, but still, you want to save your receipts. Your receipts are also saved on our online tool, which I'll talk about in just a moment. All right, we can advance to the next slide. All right, my favorite part of our FSA product is our online. You can do online, or you can use our app. All right, so you can have, with our app and also online, you can have access to, what's going on with your account. Did I submit for this reimbursement? If you submitted for reimbursement, has it been approved? Has that money gone out to my provider, or has that money been slated for my, let's say I have, my bank account on file. Has that gone to my bank account, or have they issued a check back to me through the mail? All right, photo documentation. This is my favorite part. Okay, let's say I use my FSA card for $100 at, I don't know, say your grocery store. All right, well, per the IRS, we are required to have a copy of that receipt to make sure that it's FSA eligible. All right, so you have your receipt in front of you, and you're wondering what the best way is to upload it. All right, well, you don't want to go to a scanner. You don't want to have to, scan it, send it to your phone, and then upload it to the website. With our mobile app, all you have to do is snap a picture of it. All right, and then you can import it into our app, which is really, really convenient. All right, you can also, of course, again, send your payments to your doctors and reimburse yourself for out-of-pocket expenses. You can manage your debit card transactions. And what that means is that if you need any type of receipt uploaded, then, you can manage and see, does Health Equity need any of my receipts, or, have they already approved my receipt and it's been, just approved and marked as on file. All right, and then again, you can initiate a claim. Let's say, you have paid out of pocket. We have our online and also via our mobile app. You can just fill out the short claim form online, upload your documentation, and then you can, of course, go from there as to, has it been approved? Has it been, what's the status of it basically? And the name of our app is just, it's called Health Equity. And then of course, we also, for submitting your claims, it's called Easy EZ Receipts. All right, and we can advance to the next slide. All right. And so now I'm going to switch over to dependent care. This is one of the most overlooked benefits that, are available to you. All right. And so we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. All right. So a lot of people ask, okay, what is dependent care? All right. The main thing it is used for is ongoing child care or elder care. And I'll go into that in just a moment. And you can save $1,500 or more every year on eligible expenses, again, because it's pre-taxed. All right. And we can go to the next slide. All right. So you're asking yourself, okay, why would I ever choose a dependent care FSA? Well, the biggest reason is your tax savings. Again, just like a healthcare FSA, this is all pre-tax. So, if you choose up to the max of $5,000, that's $5,000 that's not going to be taxed, which is wonderful. All right. So if you happen to have a high deductible plan that is, you can use an HSA for, let's say, you can actually pair it with an HSA account and you can actually maximize those benefits a little bit. All right. And then number 3, it really does cover a whole lot more than you think. Daycare, nursery school, preschool, summer day camp. I'll go over some of the other ones. And then also elder daycare. I'll go into that a little bit more as well. And we can go to the next slide. All right. So again, the more you contribute, the more you are going to save. All right. So right now, the maximum that you can contribute is $2,500 if you're single, or let's say you're married and filing separately, or $5,000 if you are married and filing jointly. And let me just go into the single or filing separately. Let's say you are, you have a partner or you're married. What you can do is you can split it. So combined between you and your eligible spouse or partner, you can both contribute up to that $5,000. Now, between the two of you, you cannot go over $5,000. So, but of course, if you are filing separately, you can each choose up to $2,500. All right. And then of course, the tax savings again, 750 up to 750, excuse me, if you're single or filing separately, and then $1,500 in tax savings, of course, if you're married and filing jointly. All right, and we can go to the next slide. All right, and so again, one of the major questions that I get, what is eligible? All right, so your daycare, your nursery school, your preschool, if you have someone that watches your child in their home, what I used my FSA, my dependent care FSA for was I had a woman that had care out of her home. All right. And she, of course, was eligible. All right. Your summer day camp, before and after school programs, and your elder daycare. All right. And so to make it eligible, it has to be used so that you are allowed to work. All right. During the summer, a lot of parents have this conundrum of, oh my goodness, my child is not in school anymore. What am I going to do during the summer? Because I still have to work. I still have to be able to work, but I also need my child to be cared for. All right. So let's say you have a summer day camp, that they go to every day. That is eligible. All right. And then of course, if you need to drop them off before or after school, those programs are covered. All right. And then we have elder daycare. All right. Well, what is elder? What does that mean? All right. And so basically, elder daycare is anyone who is physically or mentally not able to care for oneself. All right. So this could be maybe an eligible parent. All right. And then let's say they're not an elder, but you have possibly a spouse who is not able to care for themselves and is completely dependent on someone else to dress, clean, say, for example, feed themselves because of physical or mental problems, that is considered not able to care for themselves. All right. So, and again, this could potentially be your spouse. All right. And so that's, especially the most overlooked of dependent care. Okay. So, and excuse me, one thing I did forget to mention is for your dependent care, if it's for your child, this is for children that are 13 and under. All right. However, let's say you do have a child that is over 13, but they are unable to care for themselves, physically or mentally. They can be covered over the age of 13. All right. As long as they're living in your home for more than half the year. All right. And so we can go on to our next slide. All right. And again, all potentially eligible expenses. And we do have a list of all the expenses on our website. All right. So we do have, of course, a website that you can go to learn more about what is eligible. And of course, that's healthequity.com/learn/dependent care expenses. All right. And on your screen right now is some of the other expenses that may be overlooked. Let's say you have a nanny that's in your home or no pair service, that would be covered. All right, elder care. So let's say during the day, you need this individual to be in some type of daycare or an in-home caregiver. And then also for the care associated for that person. Let's say they need transportation costs to and from their, let's say daycare, or, you have camp and they offer some type of transportation service. All right, and also late pickup fees. We all know that, and sometimes at the end of the day, we run into traffic and we're a little late. All right. So that, of course, would be covered as well. All right. So we can go to the next slide. All right. Now, again, needed for reimbursement, because one of the most expensive things, or excuse me, important things, and what some of the slides don't cover is, okay, for healthcare FSA, you have your Visa card. All right. For dependent care, our health equity visa it cannot be used. For dependent care, you either have to use the Pay My Provider or you can submit for reimbursement. All right. And what I do, and what a lot of people don't know, is that, at the first of the year, if you know that you are going to be using, of course, the same daycare, and it's going to be $500 a month, you can actually submit a claim that will, basically, cover, let's say, 6 months, because you know that you'll be working from, say, January to June, and your child is going to be in school for those months. All right. Submit your claim at the beginning of the year and use your dates of service 1/1 through 6/30, and it's going to be $500 a month. All right. And as those funds become available on your account, we will issue a payment either to your provider or reimbursement back to yourself. All right. And you're wondering, well, that's great, but what do I need? All right. So there's documentation that we are required to get from you. All right. We're going to need to know the name of the provider. All right. The name of the patient. So, and patient is, okay, who is this? Is this your child? Is this, an elder? Is this a spouse maybe that, again, meets those requirements? The dates of service. So when did the care occur? All right. When were they in daycare? When did they go to summer camp? All right. A description of the services. And again, this is care. Is it a summer camp? What did you use these funds for? And then also the cost, of course. So we can pay your provider or we can pay you back. All right. And then so what you can do, again, online or on our mobile app, fill out the short claim form, upload your documentation, and that's it. We will take a look and make sure it's eligible and then go from there. All right. And moving forward to the next slide. All right. So let's say at the beginning of the year, you have elected, let's say $2,000. All right. And then in the middle of the year, you have some type of qualifying life event. All right. And this is maybe a change in your marital status. All right. Let's say you get married and you have to increase those, those funds. Let's say you have an adoption or anything like that. And that would be the number of dependents increases. All right. Let's say that in the middle of the plan year, you have a baby or again, you adopt. You're going to need to increase those expenses. All right. Based on your employment status. All right. To use your dependent care FSA, again, the eligible expenses, it must be used so that you can work, okay? And this includes working from home because I know for me personally, if I have a younger child, that to work at home when I'm on the phone and needing to do presentations like the one I'm on now, I need for him to be cared for because of course, if I'm working from home, I need to be able to concentrate on my work. So if I had him in a daycare situation, I would be able to do so, okay? Because it allows me to work, all right? So if during the year you happen to, let's say, your spouse is not working when you elect your benefit, but during the year, let's say they get their job and they, as they were maybe a stay-at-home parent, well, now they need to be in an office setting or, any other kind of work-related company, excuse me. And so you would want to increase your dependent care FSA, all right? Or let's say during the year you decide, you know what, I'm not going to go to this daycare. I'll use, this particular daycare maybe down the street. Or most common from January to June, okay, that your child, maybe they're in school and you only need aftercare services or before school services. Well, for July, August, and some of September, okay, you need more. You need for them to be in daycare, when you're for the entire day when you're working, or you need them to go to a summer camp. All right, that is called a change in childcare. All right. If you're using the elder care services, let's say, you have to change for some reason, to your other provider. Again, that would be a qualifying life event. And then one thing I did skip over was your marital status. You can have, of course, get married and you have to go up. Or let's say another reason that you might have to go up is, let's say your spouse was stay at home. And then if something does happen and, you do say you go from married to single, you would possibly need to increase your dependent care FSA or, decrease it. Let's say your spouse or you were single and then you get married and your spouse is stay at home, and then you would be able to decrease your funds. All right, and our next slide. All right, so here's a more real world example. So, I've been talking, but it's a lot of times really good to see something, in an actual, everyday example that could happen. All right, so Ramesh and Priya, they have a dependent care FSA and they have chosen to elect the max, which is $5,000. All right, at the beginning of the year, Priya is expecting a baby. All right, so they are going to need, they're going to need two things. All right, so they currently have a daughter named Maya, and she needs after-school childcare. Okay, and so they contribute $3,000 with an annual tax savings of about $900. And we can go to the next slide. All right, so this couple's, DC FSA savings basically allows them to save money on taxes and help pay for Maya's daycare needs, as well as the baby's needs when the baby is born. All right. So without a dependent care FSA, so of course you're adding $3,000 to your paycheck, but you're going to lose $900 in taxes. All right. Then you're going to also lose $2,000 for your after school care. So you're basically going to have $100 left over in that scenario. But with your dependent care FSA, all right, so you have your $3,000 in your dependent care FSA account, 0 taxes. All right, and then you pay $2,000 for after school care. You have $1,000 left over for, let's say, summer camp. You know, when school is out, Maya still needs to go, you know, to, you know, somewhere to where she's going to be cared for while you're working. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so, you know, a lot of times they ask, what kind of healthcare accounts is your dependent care FSA compatible with? All right, so you can use it along with your healthcare FSA. If you have any type of HSA through your employer, you can use that, or a health reimbursement arrangement. All right, so you can use all 3 of those in conjunction with your dependent care FSA. All right, so on to the next slide. All right, and we can go one more. All right, so again, to get started, all right, during your open enrollment, you can elect your dependent care FSA, and you are going to need to take a look. What am I going to have to use during the year? What I did when all 3 of my children had to be in daycare or another type of situation at the same time is I took, okay, on average, I pay monthly this for daycare, I pay, you know, this for before after school care, and I multiply it by 12, and this is about what I'm going to use. All right, so I elect that amount. All right, so the next thing you're going to do is contribute. All right, it's behind the scenes. It's going to come out pre-tax through your payroll provider, or then of course your paycheck. All right, equal amounts are generally taken from each paycheck. So again, just like healthcare FSA, if you know, have it to where, you know, say you have a monthly paycheck, it's going to come out, you know, divided by 12. All right, and then use your funds, submit for reimbursement. All right, save those receipts. All right. And one thing, and I do apologize that the slide did not have on it, is with the healthcare FSA, you have those funds on day 1. Dependent care FSA, you have to accumulate those funds. All right. So let's say you have a monthly paycheck and $200 comes out of your paycheck for dependent care. All right. So in January, you have $200 to use. And then February, another $200. And then March, another $200, and so on. All right. So next slide. All right, so this is the part to where you get to ask me questions. So I'll put it back over to James.
Thanks so much, Lisa. So there was a couple questions in the chat. I'm going to scroll back up here. I know you answered 1 or 2. You talked about the app. Oh, so first question I saw, do you still need to have a doctor write a prescription for over-the-counter items for healthcare FSA?
You do not. So it used to be that you did have to have a doctor write, let's say for Tylenol, you know, you would, it sounds kind of silly, but you know, prior, you had to have your doctor say, I need this individual to use Claritin. Claritin is over the counter. I need you to cover it. Well, now those you no longer need a prescription from your doctor.
And can you just say the name of the app again?
Oh, sure. Our app is called Easy Receipts. So it's EZ and then receipts.
And folks, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll put some links in the chat here in a few minutes that will take you to the PGCPS FSA webpage, and a lot of the information that Lisa talked about, along with links to the health equity web pages, will be on that webpage. Does the FSA money roll over the next year if you do not use it? And I know there's a difference between dependent care and healthcare, correct?
That is correct. All right, for healthcare, let's say on December 31st, you have, let's say $150 that you have not been able to use. All right, we do have a carryover option. All right, so your carryover, we can, excuse me, and this is per the IRS. This is not something that is chosen. It's just the max you can do is $500. All right, so what would happen is you would have, it's called your run out period. And that's the time period that you can submit your claims from, from the plan year. So let's say for the 2021 or 2022 plan year, you do have, through April to submit any claims that maybe you didn't submit during the year. All right. So now for dependent care FSA, there is no carryover, but the benefit that PGCPS has chosen to implement is you can continue to incur expenses for 2.5 months following the benefit plan year's end, which of course is 12/31. And what this means is that, let's say on 12/31, you still have $1,000 left in your dependent care account. Well, your employer has chosen a very wonderful benefit of, normally what happens is if you submit an expense, it has to be for the previous plan year. So, let's say you had submitted all your expenses for, 2021. PGCPS allows you to keep, incurring expenses. So let's say in January of 2022, you have, of course, your daycare expense. You can submit for your next plan year for 2.5 months. So basically, the middle of March. All right. So that is a very wonderful benefit, and not one that many employers use. So, but your employer happens to be fabulous. And of course, you can continue to, for 2.5 months, submit claims for, into the new plan year.
This one's for us. Someone said, I know some jobs will double what you put into the FSA. Does PGCPS double our contributions? No. And I've never heard of that, but I know that the school system will not double your contributions into an FSA. But thank you for that question. Can you please repeat the max that you can request in FSA healthcare?
Yes, definitely. So again, it is defined by the IRS. It is $2,750.
How do we access rollover funds since they are not added to our current year fund balance? This is, I believe, for a healthcare FSA.
Correct. Now, for your, of course, for the rollover, at the end of the run out period. And what that means is, of course, your plan year ends on 12/31. All right. And you have that run out period through the middle of April. And what that means is that you continue to submit expenses for the previous plan year. Let's say you're like me and you forget to submit some of your expenses, you can continue to do so into the next plan year through mid-April. All right. Now, at the end of the run out period, let's say you do have that $500 carryover. It will be added to your current benefit plan. So on 12/31 of 21, I have, let's say, the $500 left over, and at the end of the run out period, I still have that $500. It's going to be added to my 2022 benefit. But again, that doesn't happen until the run out period is over. And that would be, mid-April. We give about 10 to 15 days to get all the claims processed. And so basically at the beginning of May, if you have any funds left over from the previous plan year, it's going to be added to your current plan year, or a better example would be your 2022, whatever you elected.
All right, great, thank you. Next question, do medical items have to be purchased from a pharmacy or can we use Amazon for say things like vitamins or from Puritan's Pride? I guess that's another online company.
So of course, you can use your FSA card, your Visa card in the store. Okay, let's say you go to, say here in Georgia, we have CVS, we have Walgreens, we have Kroger. Wherever you pick up your prescriptions, of course, those would be covered. Well, let's say you are in Kroger and you realize, you know what, I'm going to pick up my prescription. I also need some Tylenol. All right, the pharmacy, let's say, rings them up together. Use your FSA card because those are both eligible expenses. All right. And then let's say you are on Amazon, okay, and you need, let's say some over-the-counter items, or even, if you do go onto a website that sells medical equipment, let's say you need a wheelchair, let's say you need a cane, okay, you can put your FSA card on file. All right. And, I will tell you sometimes Amazon will accept the card and sometimes they do not. Amazon has not come back to us with an answer on that, but let's say for some reason, the FSA card is declined for whatever reason, you would of course have to pay out of pocket and then you could submit for reimbursement. I will tell you personally, every time that I use my my healthcare Visa on Amazon, it goes through just fine. All right. We also have an FSA store that you can access through our website, and that is another place to where you can buy your over-the-counter medications should you need it.
Great, thank you. Good questions. The next question, just to be sure, summer camp and aftercare for school-aged children qualifies. I'm assuming referring to the dependent FSA.
Mhm.
And that's if they're 12 and under, 13 and under?
13 and under, yes. So, and just keep in mind, it's so that you or your spouse is able to work outside the home. So, and of course, if I'm at home and for some reason I'm lucky enough to not be working for a certain amount of time, I would not be able to use the funds. But then let's say I do happen to go back to work. Most commonly, this would be for maternity benefits or paternity benefits, whatever you have. All right. When you're not working, the dependent care FSA, you would not be eligible to use it because, again, it's so that you can work. But when you return from your maternity or paternity leave, it goes right back into play. All right. And you don't have to stop it. You don't have to restart it. Submitting a claim, we would be able to see if it's eligible, of course. But yes, 13 and under.
All right, thank you. Any chances that they can increase the contribution amounts in the dependent care FSA back to 10,000 for 2022 instead of 5,000? I know they did that in 2021 because of COVID, but I don't think that's happening again.
Right. So these limits, $5,000 for dependent care, $2,750 for healthcare. Of course, if the IRS deems it so, they may increase. But I will tell you, unfortunately, for dependent care, they have not increased it in a very long while. For it's more likely to increase on your healthcare FSA. Should they do that, of course, the benefit would be upped in our system. But as of right now, the IRS has not come out with increasing that. However, the IRS likes to keep it lively, and they normally don't come out with any type of increase until the end of November. One time they were especially helpful to us and they changed it in the middle of December. So, but if they should happen to do that, the benefit would automatically raise.
All right, and right now the last question, if this rollover process has not occurred, how do we get this resolved? And again, I'm assuming this is about the healthcare FSA rollover.
Okay, and just to clarify, is that more so of, let's say it doesn't populate to your next year benefit for any reason. Okay, perfect. So if for any reason you have carryover from the previous year, and then you find at the beginning of May, oh my goodness, where are my carryover funds? Call us. Most likely what would happen is we're going to open a case for you, and we're going to give you that case number, and then it's going to go over to our claims team, and they're going to figure out, okay, yes, this person had their carryover. We need to get it moved. All right, say for any reason, that would be calling in to let us know, and it would be, of course, resolved if you do indeed have those carryover funds. So, because I'm not going to say it never happens, but it is automated, so it normally does. But again, if it doesn't, please call us.
All right, thank you. And then what looks like another question here. Can you use FSA to pay co-payments?
Yes, you can. So let's say you're at your doctor and you have a $25 copay, give them that card. Or say you're at the pharmacy and you have a $5 copay or a $15 copay, use the card. I know especially for doctor's offices and also your pharmacies, they can keep the card on file. And just charge it to your card when you pick up a prescription or you come into the office.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Folks, I just posted some links in the chat to the open enrollment webpage, benefits contact information, and then the PGCPS FSA webpage. So feel free to mark those links. And not seeing any additional questions, we have hit 1 o'clock, so our meeting time is officially over. Thank you all for attending. We will again reconvene at 5 this evening for this same presentation. Certainly, you're welcome to join again. And again, I will post one of these sessions on the open enrollment webpage, probably sometime tomorrow. All right, thank you again, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.